Hey, we're back. Sorry for that little
Oops.
interruption that we had there. We lost internet and it said that it couldn't connect to the server. So,
It was probably the recruiting people
yeah, you were
still
talking about
following me
recruiting
around
and,
trying to make my life miserable because they were not really friendly or very nice at all.
oh, Lord have mercy.
But I did that for 3 years recruiting duty. And it was hard, man. It was a. Are we on?
Yeah, we're on.
Is this thing on? All right.
Yep, we're good.
It was 6 days a week.
For 6 days?
It
Wow.
was 6 days a week.
And you
Just
went to Fort
incredible
Drum,
hours. If no, I went to Long Island, New York. I
Long
was
Island, New
yeah.
York.
I was my office was in Queens and
Okay.
Laurelton, South Ozone Park, Springfield Gardens, that area.
Did
And
Bowie go with you on that?
yeah, she
Did
went,
she?
but we
Okay.
didn't live there. Nobody lived there. We lived on a little out on Long Island on a. It was Mitchell Field. It's called
Okay.
Mitchell Field. It's an Air Force area there. And all the recruiters lived in Mitchell Field and housing.
Okay.
It was too expensive to live downtown. We couldn't have afforded that.
So, what
And
was
plus, I
recruiting
don't know,
like?
it was terrible.
You didn't like it?
No, I was not. I don't say I wasn't good at it. I was pretty good at it. I could
Right.
convince them to join. It's just I couldn't qualify them to join. And I couldn't get them to. If I could get them to pass the test and pass the background and all, they could. They had other options in New York City.
Okay.
So that was a pretty bright person, and they could get into college. So we were battling with that, and they just didn't want to. You would, and going in, I thought, 3 people a month. That's about all they really asked me was 3 people a month, and I could not even do that. I was like,
That was your quota?
yeah. Well, they didn't
Okay.
call it a quota; they called it a mission. Same thing.
Right.
But I was not successful. I wasn't successful, but I wasn't so bad that they just fired me and let me go. I drifted around 85%. But it was at the end of the month. I mean, they look you right in the face and tell you failed, and there's no excuse for it. You can say, "Well, I did this, I did that, I did that." Well, you didn't
Right.
do it good enough, or you didn't do enough of it. So then you're not working enough. So then they put you on hours, which I'd stay. After a while, that's not. You're not going to put me on hours as a threat. I'm just going to work Saturday anyway. You're going
Right.
to keep making me work Saturday, so Saturday became a work day. Can't punish me anymore there. I mean, we were at work all the time. For 3 years, it was steady. Not, other people were successful, but I wasn't. I had to, I just wasn't successful at it.
How many recruiters were in your office at that time? Just for
Five,
the Army?
five.
Just for the Army?
Yeah,
Okay.
I was in an Army only one.
Right.
But in Queens, which was our company was just Queens.
Okay.
I can't remember. There was probably 5 or 6 offices in Queens. Just Queens, not
Okay.
Brooklyn or just
Just
Queens.
in
It was
Queen. Right.
Queens was a company, and so we had a bunch of us out there. We were running, we were poaching each other's people. they, they it was just wide open a mess. But the zip code I was recruiting and my high school was closer to another person's office than it was to my office.
Wow.
So they're not going to go. They're not going to take 3 buses. This is in New York too. They're not going to take 3 buses and a train to get to my office when they can take 1 bus to get to theirs.
Right.
So,
Right.
and they were supposed to protect high school seniors are supposed to be protected, but they didn't. They just let people put them in. It was wide open.
What does protected mean?
It means that was my high school. I should be the only one to enlist the
Recruiting. Gotcha.
seniors so that
Gotcha.
I know and I can work with them and
Right.
get walk down to high school and talk to people. And I knew that I put that guy in, but I don't know what if another guy put him in. So yeah, they didn't care. It was pretty bad, at least in my company. I can't attest to all of it. It wasn't a very good job. But I made staff sergeant there
Okay.
because I wasn't going to make it in my cable splicing MOS. Nobody was. But when I went out there, they changed your MOS to a 00 Romeo, which is a recruiter. So I actually changed my MOS for 3 years. And then I went, after I was there 90 days, because I was already on the E6 list, I made staff sergeant in 90 days. 3 months after I got there, I pinned on staff sergeant. I don't even know if I would have ever if I'd have stayed in my old MOS.
So I come up to you right now and I say, give me your enlistment. For recruiting me, recruit me right now. Can you do that?
Man,
no,
it's way more complicated. Well, I wouldn't even waste my time with you much until I tested you.
Right.
It's all about numbers, and you say as little as possible to get them to take that test.
And after they do that,
so many people fail that test.
You're talking about the ASVAB, right?
Yeah.
And so even if they pass the ASVAB and score good, then if they get into like the medical end, when they go into the MEP station, have to have their physicals and all that stuff too. But a lot of times people get
you get knocked out there. It's a process. Or you find out this kid's got like 18 jumping the turnstile tickets, which are minor non-traffic, but that's a waiver now. I don't want to do a waiver. That's a lot. It takes a lot of time, and I'm in a hurry. I need to get this guy in quick. So, yes, before they lose interest or get distracted, chasing butterflies around or something.
I had a skin cancer that was like deep when I was a kid, and they went in and took it out. And I was in high school, and well, actually, I had quit high school. I wanted to enlist, right? So I went to the Air Force because that's where I wanted. I don't know why, but that's where I wanted to go.
Everybody did, yeah.
So I go there first, and the Air Force is like, with that skin cancer, like, no, we're not going to take you.
Yeah, I hated it.
So, but the Army, there's like, oh yeah, give us a clean bill of health from your doctor. We'll take you. Well, yeah.
The Air Force, when I was there, we were working 6 days a week. 12, 13 hours a day. And in fact, in New York, if you could get off like at 5, which was very rare, hell, you're in traffic for 2 hours to get home. Might as well hang around till 7. And then it only takes an hour. It takes like 15, 20 minutes because the traffic abates. But so it's just But I lived with all the rest of the recruiters. And Air Force guys, they only worked 4 days a week.
Okay.
And so I'd come home on Saturday, dragging in like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And they're all out in the back, barbecuing, and Bowie's with them. Hey, come over. And I'd say, bye me. I'm going to hang out with you people. I've been summoned for 2 days already. I'm going to hang out with you. You got all these people that are waiting to join. They have like a long line of them, and they won't just tell them, we're really not going to take you. They just keep them there in like a holding pattern, and they could not get them to switch to the Army.
Could you imagine trying to be a recruiter today?
No. I can't imagine even being in the Army today.
Yeah.
And I really wasn't all that hard. I was kind of hardcore.
Well, the reason I ask you that
about things.
The reason I ask you that is because, like, you can't get in the face at basic training now. They can't do profanity. There's all these rules because it's the woke military that some of the people claim, and it's just. I
don't know.
But
I don't know. I haven't been to basic training, so I really don't know.
I haven't been since '77, so I'm with you there. They might be
pretty rough on them. I would hope they got to be a little.
Yeah, I mean, because if you baby them, then they're not going to be able to follow orders when they're in.
We had. I mean, I went in a long time ago. I know they were doing things, but we weeded out when I was in basic, probably in my company, at least 10 or 15 guys that did not need to be there.
Wow.
But when I was on recruiting duty, initially, well, you're not going to join my Army. And after about 2 months, that changed. If you pass a test and you pass a physical, I'm going to put you in boots and let them weed you out. I'm not, I was told very quickly that you are not the ones that set the standards.
Was there ever any recruiter, once you was there ever a recruit, once you recruited them, that came back after they enlisted and said thank you? Or
a couple.
It was really?
Yeah,
good.
More. I don't think anybody ever came back like mad. because you can lie. You can call a recruiter lying all you want to, but everybody knows what basic training is.
Right.
Watch Full Metal Jacket. You kind of know. And if you can ask, well, they're not going to make me work on Saturday. You ask a bunch of questions, but the answer is yes, you will work on Saturday and things. So you can lie so much, but
I could tell
most
you,
people know
joining the Army
into.
changed my life for definitely. So
Hmm.
after you're there and doing recruiter duty for 3 years,
Yeah.
and you said that wasn't one of your more favorable jobs in the
No,
Army.
they didn't. They didn't ask me to stay after 3 years.
It's like, okay, bye.
No. Sometimes they bring people in and say, you're really doing good at this. You can stay out here, make a career in the recruiting area. No, they didn't ask me. They just let me go. Yeah. Yeah, they made me wash my car and get the hell out of there. And I didn't want to stay. So they sent me to Fort Gordon to an AIT unit.
Okay.
And we were like platoon sergeants. We were the MOS that I was running was 72 Golfs and 72 Echoes. And all we did was give them CTT training. We marched them to school, picked them up, yelled at them, made them clean the barracks. But we weren't instructors. We were like drills, but not getting paid for it.
And what was your rank at that time?
I was a staff sergeant.
Staff sergeant?
I made that out on recruiting duty. But they changed my MOS. While I was on recruiting duty, my old MOS, which was a 36 Echo cable splicer.
Right.
They did away with that, and they made it an identifier off of 36 Charlie, which was a cable dog, a straight up cable dog. And people know, in signal corps, everyone knows what a cable dog is. They just pull cable, very physical, very manual, and it's basically connectivity. But there's a ton of them. There's a lot of these guys.
Right.
So now I'm competing against all of these guys, and none of us are making E7. But another in Germany, I do my thing at Fort Gordon, and they send me to Germany.
How long were you at Fort Gordon for?
A year and a half.
About a year and a half. Okay.
I went to Anoch there.
Okay.
Well, I came down on levy for Germany because I wasn't supposed to stay there very long. They called it regreening. It's another reason, another way to make Bob work 18 hours a day. But at that point, I didn't care. I was used to working 18
right.
hours. At least this time, I could sometimes get off on Saturday and go fishing. So it's way better than recruiting duty. But I get on levy to go to Germany.
Okay.
And that's when I went. That's when I went to 1st Signal Battalion in Germany. And
where at in Germany?
It was in Kaiserslautern.
Kaiserslautern, okay.
And it's tactical, straight up tactical. And I'm in Army. I've been Army like 12 years. And I've never set up a GP small or GP medium. I just didn't do that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So, I'm in charge of people. I don't even know what the equipment is. Because I went to Anoch, but they didn't. They taught you what the equipment looked like in a classroom environment. You just followed a little sheet. I didn't know how to work. I didn't even know what it looked like in the tacticals because I'd never seen it in a van.
Right.
So I get out there and it's just a mess. But in my first 6 months there, they did this weird thing where they combined a bunch of MOSs into one. So the 36 Charlies got messed in with 31 Mikes and this and that. They just compiled a whole bunch of them to make a better career progression. And I made E7 that very first year.
Wow.
Yeah, and I don't know whether if I'd have stayed at 36 Charlie, I might have never
made it.
Never made it. But again, I was in the right place at the right time, like 3 times in my career. I was in the right place in the right time to make it. Because the next year they promoted so many the first time that they didn't promote as many the second time. But the first pull after they combined those MOSs, I'm 87.
Wow.
So, yeah, that was pretty cool. That was cool. But then again, now I'm a platoon sergeant around a bunch of equipment I've never seen before. I don't know how it works. I've never seen a switch or any of that stuff or all this equipment. I had no idea what it was. But and then people were.
You were a quick learner.
Yeah, I was. Well, yeah, I learned what I needed to.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, I was, platoon sergeant is more about what do your tents look like? Did they canoe their cots? Is their vans clean? Is all this stuff. So very rarely was I held accountable for technical stuff because you might as well fire me day one. I do not know that. I don't know how that switch works. Only a couple people do. So if they tell me this about the switch, I kind of have to believe them because I have no way to dispute it. I would do something that most people didn't do, is that my switch guy was a Spec 4. He's running my whole switch. He's a Spec 4, and he'd been around a long time and just had that attitude. Maybe common people will say this about other switch people, but they did have this attitude. And so I would just go to another platoon and get a staff sergeant and tell him to show me how to inspect this switch because I really don't know what I'm looking for. And that was kind of everybody. You can't bring somebody from another unit, but I did because I don't have anybody in my unit that I can trust.
Right.
So I would just pull them. I would just ask people from another company. And that was kind of almost like letting them in your business, but I didn't care. At that point, my business was wide open because I didn't know anything. They could send me out looking for order wire for all the hell I knew and be like a dumbass. So, yeah.
So what did you think of Germany while you were there? The economy and the geographically and all that?
It was pretty. I remember it from when I was a kid. Because remember, we were in Kaiserslautern when I was a kid.
Right.
So we lived in Vogelway housing area. And it was down, the apartment that we moved into was right down the street from where I went to school in second grade.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Wow.
Second and third grade. I could remember because the school when I got there, they had just built it. It was a new school, so they were still using it. And we were like 2 roads down from the apartment that we lived in with my parents.
With your parents?
Yeah, wow. It was kind of cool. Yeah, Vogelway. It was cool. And we liked it when we weren't in the field. We were in the field they would go to the field for 45 days, reforger and all that stuff. So we were out there a long, long time. So when we came back and cleaned up, we kind of let up a little. But they had these really good fests. They had really good fests at the time. It was just such fun.
And you got to do a lot of stuff, a lot of sightseeing and stuff with the family too, with Bowie, Bobby, and
you go castle hunting and things like that. And Bowie. My wife's name is Bowie, by the way. She's from Thailand. But she was working at the PX, and so this guy opened a concession, a Villeroy and Bach China concession. But as part of the concession goes, you had to employ the PX people. He had to employ PX people.
Okay.
So they gave Bowie to him to work for him. And he didn't think that they were paying her enough. So he would give her these marks for free. And we would just put them in a drawer. And when the fest came to town, we'd just grab a handful of them, like play money. So we very rarely had to convert our money to go. But we'd stay at those fests playing ping pong and get a glass if it went in there. We'd just throw those marks away.
They had beer pong then?
It was... No.
Okay.
They had a bunch of German glasses, and you threw a ping pong, and if it landed in the glass, you got to keep the glass.
Yeah, that's... okay, I got you.
Bowie would play that all day, so you could with their free marks.
But it does sound like beer pong a little bit,
yeah, kind of. Well, because you went in the beer tent and drank like hell, and then but they had, this wasn't a German fest. This was a fest in Germany, but a lot of Americans, so they didn't have glasses.
Right.
It was plastic cups and solo cups.
Red Solo cup.
We would have beer fights where people would just throw that beer. People had umbrellas. And it was the best. It was really fun. Germany was a trip.
And after Germany, where did you guys go?
I came back here.
Came back to Fort Richard?
Yeah, I got to re-enlist. And they gave me an option, and E7 I didn't think you would get an option, but they gave me an option between Fort Drum, Fort Carson, and here. So we picked here.
Okay.
I wasn't good. Fort Drum. I'm done with the snow. And my father was in Fort Carson, and that was probably the worst place he'd ever been in his career. And I remember him being miserable there, so I didn't want to go there.
Was he retired by then, right?
Yeah, my dad had retired way before I joined. He retired in like 66.
Oh, he retired before you even joined the Army.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
I forgot. I didn't remember that.
Yeah.
I thought you guys were both on active duty for a short period of time.
No. Mm-mm. That would have been cool, but no. No, he probably would have bossed me around and been mean and
yeah,
call me a failure. No, he was a good guy.
No, he was proud of you.
Well, I was proud of him. I really was.
I know you were. Both your parents. I know because you talk about them very passionately.
Yeah, they were good. He came back from Vietnam with an anger, but was smart enough to realize. That's why I said he was ahead of his time a little bit.
Right. He
was smart enough to realize that he needed help. So he would never, as mad as he got, he had a temper and he could get really mad. You think it's going to kill you. He was a big guy. I was little and he was a big man, but he was smart enough to get help and he never got physical with us ever after he came back from Nam. No matter how mad he was smart enough not to ever spank us or try to hit us or anything like that.
Wow.
But I think he's going to hit us.
It's a lot of restraint.
Yeah, because he would have probably killed me. He was a big man and I was like 120 something when I joined the Army. But he was a smart man. He went and got help and he needed it too because he was mad. He was angry at the world.
Justifiably so. What happened over there?
He was pretty mad. And he that was his last tour, so he left Vietnam and went to Washington to Fort Lewis and ETS from Fort Lewis. And when he came home, he was out of the Army. He wasn't in the Army anymore. And then he went to college.
All right. So, getting back to your
So I came here after Germany.
And then, is that when Desert Storm happened?
About a year later. About a year after I got here, Desert Storm happened.
And you went to where? You went to Iraq?
Riyadh.
Oh, Riyadh. Okay.
Yeah. No, we went to Riyadh. We set up where we were a major node signal company. And we had these satellite vans that weren't meant to jump around a lot. And so we were in Riyadh. And we had this satellite van that shot to Landstuhl. And everybody could shoot to us, and we would put them through the Landstuhl, which would put them through to the world.
Okay.
Once you got a shot into Landstuhl, you could pretty much connect around to whoever you wanted to. Pretty much. You could get
What was the distance about, do you know?
Oh, I don't remember.
No?
No, I wasn't.
But it's pretty good distance, though.
Yeah, it was pretty far.
Yeah.
It was a long flight. And so we stayed in. Our job was in Riyadh, and our commander wouldn't let us drive around. There was no road trips or goofing around, go sightseeing. Your job's in Riyadh, you stayed in Riyadh.
Okay.
We didn't drive around a lot. That's where people get hurt and get in accidents, is out there goofing around. Me and my father told me, just Bob, the odds are you're going to run over somebody with a truck before anybody from Iraq shoots them. Mm-hmm. People die in accidents a lot. So we would try to be careful and not fool around because you want everybody to go home.
Right.
I mean, it would be cool, but we didn't. So I've stayed my whole 6 months there was in Riyadh. The only time I left Riyadh was to come home.
Okay.
And then after I'd been here about a year, I came down on levy for Korea.
Okay.
And I told them, then they had something open in Bahrain. So I told them, you send me to Bahrain instead of Korea, and I'll do that. And then I went to Kuwait, and then I came back here.
And then you retired?
Nope. Then I went
Not
to
yet?
Korea. No.
Went to Korea anyway. You
No.
ended up going to Korea
Then
anyway.
I ended up going to Korea anyway because I'd been in 11th for a long time at that point. So,
Right.
they were trying to put on a new face. I don't know. It just seemed like I was an old anchor by that time. So I went to Korea for a year, Korea's okay. It is a hard assignment though.
Yeah.
Because I'm a man. I'm a grown man. I have 3 cars, a house, a wife, a son, and a dog, and I'm living in a barracks again. I don't have a car. Yes.
Were you an E8
I
by
didn't take a
then?
bus. Yeah, I was a first sergeant.
First
I've been
sergeant.
a first sergeant for years. I went to Korea. I was a first sergeant again. That was my 3rd company as a first sergeant. But I'm here with a bunch of 20-year-olds, and they're all just drinking all the money away and partying. It's a mess.
Weren't they frightened of you? Like, I mean, that's our first sergeant.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Man, I thought my first sergeant walked on water.
I could lead out of fear. It's just not the preferred method.
Right.
It's easier to get people to do things than make them do things. If you can convince them that this is the right thing to do, it makes life a lot easier.
Well, you'd have been you
I
were a good leader.
I didn't
then.
mind being a hard ass. I didn't.
Right.
If you didn't play the game, I'm not going to sit here worrying about you. You're going to worry about me. So if you were out there causing trouble, my philosophy always has been there's like 100% of the people, and there's a bottom 10 and the top 10, and the bottom 10 are just terrible, and top 10 are so perfect they don't need you. But you win at 80% in the middle, and then you go after that 10% at the bottom and let them know you're coming after them, and they'll either straighten up or go home.
Yep.
One or the other. But it's at 80% in the middle. You need to win them, and you don't normally need to beat them up to do it. Just convince them to do the right thing, and they will.
Lead by example.
Well, yeah, you could say that.
Yeah.
When I graduated from ANOC, they had a little ceremony, and they brought in a guest speaker, and it was a sergeant major from the food industry. He grew up a cook.
Okay.
And he's a sergeant major, a cook, and we're a bunch of signal people.
Yeah.
What the hell are you gonna bring in a cook? But he was a really interesting guy, and he said, "Well, you take leadership like a spaghetti noodle." He says you can't push that spaghetti noodle anywhere; it just bundles up. You got to get in front of it and pull it along sometimes.
Wow.
And it will follow you. Yeah. He was a quite interesting guy.
It's interesting that he had an E9 that's in the food service. Yeah.
Who would have thought, Mostly there's a bunch of, he was an interesting guy.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And then after you retired, you stayed here in Fort Huachuca because you had been, for what reason? Because Bowie and Bobby were here? And
yeah, we had a house here. Bobby was in high school. Remember Bowie worked for Payless for the longest time. Like 30 years. She worked in all the Paylesses. That's why I'm really known as Bobby's dad and Bowie's husband. More than me, because everybody knew her.
Right.
And still do. They still walk, remember you used to sell my kids' shoes and stuff like that. So everybody knew her. She worked that company for 30 years or so. So we had a house here and we lived here. So yeah, we like it here. We'll never leave.
Good. I'm glad.
Mm-hmm. And then I got this job. I went to college for a couple of years and used all my GI Bill, and I treated that like a job. And then I got a job as a contractor for Southwest Gas.
I tell you what, I remember
you for like 17 years.
I remember you doing that job, and man,
I liked it.
Put it. I know you loved it, and you put in so much walking. I think it was really good for your health.
Yeah, that's all we did.
It kept you physical.
Day, across the desert, out in the heat.
Because you were searching for gas leaks, right? Yeah.
And I was the only one. It fit my personality at the time because I did not want to be in charge anymore. I'm kind of tired. I was tired of that. And I worked all by myself all throughout Cochise County. Are we running over?
No, you got to share the story though about riding the bicycle on the job, because I love that. I love that part. You got to share that real quick.
Because you're walking along gas line, and it's sometimes either 5 miles, just straight 5 miles down the road.
Right, a lot of walking.
But if you walk it, you got to walk back.
Yep.
And that walk back is non-productive. You've already walked it. So, you would set your equipment down and hide it and then run back to the truck. And you very rarely wanted to get more than a mile from your truck because things could happen out there in the desert. But I found my Fresnel had this old bicycle. So what I would do is I would drive out a mile, drop the bicycle off, and then come back. And then when I reached the bicycle, I would ride it back to the truck, and it was quicker.
Pretty creative.
As long as it wasn't uphill. I found it real quick. Uphill is not fun. So you want to walk, you want to walk it uphill and ride the bike downhill.
Right.
Different set of muscles.
I love that story because it just shows how creative you were. It's like, yeah,
crazy. I was sure just trying to get it over with quicker. But it was a good job for me because the guys that I worked with, they were all in Tucson. I was based here, so every Friday, especially at first, because before cell phones, I couldn't call them unless I used a payphone or till I got home. So every Friday, I'd mail them my paperwork. Sometimes I didn't even see my bosses for a couple of months. As long as everything was rolling real and they weren't getting complaints, they didn't even bother me. So what time I left in the morning was kind of all up to me. What time I got off in the afternoon, as long as the work was done, they were nice. They were real good. They were nice to me, and I think I did a good job for them.
One thing I
was good at it.
One thing I really admired about you and Bowie is after you retired and she was retired. Well, even before that, but especially after you retired, though, you guys did a lot of traveling.
Yeah,
you went to Mexico. Did you go to Hawaii or after you retired?
We had already been to. I haven't been there, but we've been to Cancun a couple times.
Yeah,
we've
down to Florida.
We did the year I retired. We went to Thailand for 3 months because we'd always visited there. But remember, I went from January to March, yeah,
right,
just to see if we could live there. So we hung out there for 3 months. And then they realized I can't live there. It's too sweaty. Just the humidity will kill you. I thought maybe I'd get used to it.
Right.
If I stayed there for an extended period, but I never did.
Pretty culture over there too.
Yeah,
a lot of history, a lot of buildings.
They don't tear a temple down. They just build around it. Yeah. So there'll be temples downtown on a corner in the middle of Bangkok. It's kind of interesting.
And they have some of the most creative business names.
You gotta know. Go on my Facebook page and you'll see the video of the red light district. That's my funny video.
Well, even some of the restaurants though too had some of those funny names too.
The Not Get Sick restaurant.
Yeah,
it's weird places, but they're Buddhists and they're friendly and they're nice. Mm-hmm. So even if you're not looking for trouble, people looking for trouble can find it. But you could go into these areas and see an alley with some lights at the end of it, think that might be interesting, and not be too scared about walking down there because they're just not real threatening people. And nobody ever tried to really be mean to me, and we've been there maybe 15 times. We were going there every year for the longest time.
And then you've been to North Carolina a few times to visit your son and granddaughter and daughter-in-law.
We've been to. I kind of really like Jacksonville area. We've been there a couple times. We've done a lot of driving. We've drove to Oregon twice. We've done parks in California. California's not my favorite place, but they got good parks.
This guy has an RV or a trailer,
just
camper.
Travel trailer.
Yeah, travel trailer. But yet he doesn't hardly use it. I always make funny. I know you have good reason, but sometimes when you're driving, like when you go to Oregon and Washington, I was always thinking, man, you guys are paying for a hotel when you got that nice travel trailer that's sitting there.
It's a fairly cheap one. It's not a real big.
No, it's a nice one though.
It's just a pain in the butt driving it. So if you want to go up to Washington or any big city, what are you going to do with that thing? Mm-hmm. What am I going to do with it? Especially I don't know. Because let's say we went to North Carolina. Well, Bobby and Amanda, my son and daughter, don't have a house.
Right.
So what am I going to do? So I saved 2 nights of hotels on the way there.
Yeah.
And now what am I going to do with this big camper? Because I'm not going to stay in it when they have a house. So, So we use it around here. I use it around here.
Yeah.
When I have a party at the house, I'll pull it in front. I'll sleep there.
Or go to Parker Lake sometimes with it. You got the truck to pull it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So
I'll use it when I want to, but it wasn't that expensive. So
well, I really appreciate.
It is a pain in the butt, though.
I really appreciate you coming in and sitting down and talking with me this morning. And
I wasn't quite sure. Maybe this was an intervention or something.
No.
A line of people come in saying, "Bob, please get better."
I'd give you a heads up on that.
Please give up the Budweiser, Bob.
No. But I got a few events that I have to read here real quick, but I just wanted to thank you so much. Okay. If you want to give a shout out to any of your family or friends.
Hi, everybody.
Don't want to say your sisters?
No, I'm not throwing any names out there.
Don't want to throw any names
use anybody's names. I don't know whether they appreciate it.
Right. Well,
put my business out on the street.
And then if you forget somebody, then they'll say, well, wow, they remember. Yeah, I get you. Right. So some of the events that we have coming up here at the Warrior Healing Center this month in December. Again, today we have the Fun Food Friday. And I believe I read, let's see, we're having the Casserole-a-Palooza.
Well, there you go.
So they're making a bunch of different casserole dishes. And that's going to be today, starting at 11 o'clock and going to 1,400 hours. So make sure you come down for that.
Do y'all do that every Friday, Mike, or just
the first Friday of the month?
Okay. The first Friday of the month.
Uh-huh.
There you go.
And then on the third Thursday of the month, they do the Bagels and Brew, where they do like a breakfast type of thing with like eggs.
I haven't been to that, but I think I've seen that. So that's the third Thursday?
That's the third Thursday for Bagels and Brew, 0900 to 1100 hours for that one.
Cool.
We have
put that on your calendar, folks.
We have the DAV Fry Chapter 14 is having their monthly chicken fried steak dinner tonight, and that will be taking place at the VFW Post 9972. And we have, Team RWB is running at Apache Flats, Apache Field parking lot on Monday, December 5th, starting at 16:30 and going to 17:45. On Monday, December 5th, we have the AVVA monthly meeting, which will be taking place here at the Warrior Healing Center in the Warrior Healing Center Recreation Room. Monday, December 5th, again, very busy Monday, 1800 to 1900 hours is the Team RWB chapter meeting, and that takes place at the Sierra Vista Public Library. On Tuesday, December 6th, starting at 1800 going to 1900, we have the CMA BOD meeting, and that takes place here at the Warrior Healing Center main conference room. We have the VFW executive meeting is also taking place Tuesday, December 6th, 1800 to 1900 hours. VFW Post 9972. On Tuesday, December 6th, again, 1830 to 1930 is the AMVETS Post 89 meeting. It will be here at the Warrior Healing Center. Wednesday, December 7th, that's Pearl Harbor Day. So we want to make sure to remember those that were lost during that tragic event. You've been to Hawaii. I haven't yet. It's on my bucket list, but I hear the USS Arizona is quite a. The whole thing is pretty solemn.
Very solemn. There's not. Yeah, it's very cool, very clean, very organized, but very solemn. It's not people running around yelling, taking selfies. It's a cool place. I liked it. It was
And it
worth
seems pretty respectful.
Very,
People are very
they will
respectful.
remind you, though, that we were snuck attacked. It was a sneak attack, and it was a dirty thing they did. So, but yeah, that's reverent. You would like it.
And on Thursday, December 8th, starting at 1800, going to 1900, we have the CLUG, that's the Cochise Linux Users Group, Ubuntu Honor Hour, and that's going to be taking place at Schlotsky's Deli on Thursday, December 8th, starting at 1800, going to 1900 hours. We have the Disabled American Veterans Monthly Membership Meeting. That's Chapter 14. That'll be taking place over at Cochise College Nursing Center on El Camino Real and Wilcox. And last but not least, I want to get this one in. Saturday, December 10th at 1000 going to 1600 hours is the Army versus Navy tailgate and chili cook-off that they're doing here at the Warrior Healing Center. So kickoff is at 1300 hours, and they're going to have TVs indoors and outdoors, it says, weather permitting. And they're also going to be doing a chili cook-off with Sue Thatcher. So if you want the information for the chili cook-off, please give Sue a call at 520-266-4508. And don't forget this Saturday, got to find it here on my list. Where is it? Because we have the Velo Vets group ride that takes place at the Pueblo del Sol Country Club parking lot, and they start at 0830 this Saturday, and they ride every Saturday and Wednesday. And what they do is, as you know, I had Stu on here as a guest. They do bike rides with disabled veterans, get them on a bike, get them out. And I know you ride, so maybe we can get you out there to ride with them one time. It's a great group. It really is. So, Bob, again, thank you so much for coming in.
You're welcome, Mike.
Sorry for the interruption there on the internet. So this will be a two-part interview.
Yes, the recruiting people.
The recruiting people.
Yeah. Haven't forgiven me.
All right, everybody. I will see you again next Friday. Have a good weekend, and don't forget today's Fun Food Friday. Okay. All right, everybody. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, Michael.